plan is about the same all the time. So when you switch from a off-season mode into a contest mode, really all you're doing is reducing probably your carbohydrates slowly, and maybe taking out some of the extra little stuff that we have that maybe the treat type stuff, maybe whatever, bread or these kind of things. But so
do you? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was going to ask you: is there ever a time where somebody might be consuming too much protein?
Yeah, I mean, I think protein consumption's a little overrated, or high amounts are a little, and so I think a moderate amount for a competitor. The reason I say this is because if you get too much protein intake, it's probably very hard for your body to utilize it anyway.
Sure.
I mean, if you're eating 400 grams of protein and you're a 180-pound competitor, most of that probably, I don't know how much you can't use it.
Right. There's a certain amount you can. Yeah, exactly.
But number two, and maybe more importantly, is what kind of a stress is that putting on your body, kidneys and filtering, systems, and when you start putting those kind of stresses on your body, that puts you in an unhealthier state.
Sure.
The more unhealthy you are, whether you realize it or not, the harder it is to get in great shape.
Sure.
And so, again, more is always not better, a moderate amount of protein. So I tell people when they diet, I don't like the keto diets. There's a place for them, and if they work for somebody, then by all means. And there's plenty of examples of people who can get in great shape doing that.
Yeah.
But I think most people, to be totally honest, it's just a moderate approach with leaving carbohydrates in.
Yeah.
And so I would say, like, most of the guys I get ready for shows, and even myself, I'm eating probably half the diet from carbohydrates every day, 50%. And probably around, 30-35% protein, and finish the rest out there, 10 or 15 or whatever, fat.
And even
that's
then,
kind of the ratio,
right?
And so you think about that. Well, if I'm eating, you might be eating 200, 300, 400 grams of carbohydrates a day,
right,
depending on how big you are.
Now, when you say the rest is fat, do you track fat, or do you?
Yeah, you track everything when you're getting ready.
Okay, I was going to say, or do you just?
So what you do
just get fat from like lean meats and stuff?
Well, you're gonna track what you're getting from that. But what's going to happen essentially is you kind of have an idea of. There's some calculations that I use, and I'm not going to go into detail on them because they're not that scientific. It's just you can't take somebody and know exactly what they need to eat right out of the gate.
Sure.
You can't do it.
No.
You just have to kind of guess and then see. You have to let that diet run for about 30 days to see if what you were guessing, if you're close. And there's signs to look at. But essentially what you do is you set up the diet with some educated guesses.
Sure.
And then you let that diet run and work until it no longer works.
Exactly.
And then you make changes. But you have to leave the diet exactly the same. All the variables, you have to know exactly every nutrient, all the calories you're eating every day and where they're coming from. They have to be tracked. And it has to be the same. However you design it, you follow it to a T. And then when things aren't going your way exactly, then you manipulate one variable.
Yeah, and see how it goes.
At a time. And the variable is usually reducing carbohydrates or maybe leaving the food the same but increasing output by doing a little more cardio.
Sure.
And this is what you do. So your diet may work for a week. Usually they'll work. If you're making changes much more than once a week, you're not allowing time to see what's happening. You got to analyze your body weight, how they look, their energy levels, their strength levels in the gym. There's 4, 5, 6 factors, the body fat percentages if you want to take it. Right. And then after that set time, where somebody that a nutrition coach or whatever can help a client with that.
Right.
Say, okay, it's time to it's not working as well. Let's now make these subtle changes. The mistake most competitors make is they go from eating whatever they want in the off season, pizza and hamburgers and hamburger helper.
Yeah.
Whatever they want. And then they wake up one day and say, okay, Mondays when I start my contest diet, it's cold turkey, it's green beans and chicken breast and 50 grams of carbs from here until I'm ready. And it's basically too much of a shock.
Yeah.
And they don't get in that great of shape.
Yeah.
Most of them.
Well, and you say something that I really am not a big fan of, and that's, shocking the system. And this is what I tell everybody. My philosophy is that in order to shock a system, it's got to be used to something first. Continuously confusing your body doesn't allow things to take place unless unless it's all kind of under the same umbrella-ish, but usually you have to give it some time in order to become shocked. If every day is a Halloween and is Halloween and I'm walking through a haunted house, I'm going to expect to be scared all the time, and eventually it's going to be a nice time outside, and I'm not going to be scared, and it's going to be shocking to me. Like, whoa, I'm not scared all the time.
Right. But yeah, that's right. I mean, but the thing with dieting though, and getting ready for these contests, whether you're figure or bikini or open bodybuilding or just getting ready for the beach or your wedding or whatever, it doesn't matter what the event is. Mm-hmm. The thing, it's always the same. You don't want to shock your body when you're dieting. Maybe when you're training, that might be up for debate. I mean, we can do different things to kind of stimulate muscle growth. But when it comes to fat loss, it's a very gradual. It's like I compare it to, you don't do anything drastic with your body because it then notices the change and it says, hey, stop what we're doing. We're a little stressed out. And then it slows the metabolism on its own. It says, hey, let's keep body fat because that's something for survival. Let's burn that muscle tissue because that's expensive to keep around, and we're in a stressful environment.
Exactly.
And so it's kind of like robbing the bank. Like if you go to the bank every day and you could get in the vault and take out a $1 bill or something and just kind of sneak out, the bank, maybe you become a millionaire after a million days, and the bank may never know it.
Yeah.
But if you go in the bank and you take out $100,000 and run out the back door,
sure,
you're not going to make it down the. You're going to jail real quick, and the game's up.
Yep.
It's like dieting. Just take a little bit out, so your body doesn't realize that it's what you're doing. Then over time, though, all of a sudden, wait a second, that body fat's gone, your muscle's still there, and you feel good.
So let me ask you this, and I know that you're probably going to say something along the lines of it depends on how big you are and how much you're eating, but so what is a good amount to take out a day? Like let's say we're going through and it's time, I'm plateauing and it's time to change. Should I take out 10 grams of carbs, 50 grams of carbs, 30?
I usually it would depend on your size, but I mean most people are going to be in the, fairly, I would say I used to take out about 20 to 25 grams of carbs at a time. So if I got a guy eating 350 grams of carbs and we've been eating that for let's say 5 weeks straight and he's been losing weight, but the last 2 weeks it's really slowed down and I'm look at some other factors and say, hey, you're kind of plateauing a little bit. What did I say he was eating? 325?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Let's say he was eating 325 for that. Then just back it down to about 300.
Yeah.
And you say, now we're going to eat 300 grams, and there's certain ways to take them out and certain meals you can take them out of, and all that can come into play to an extent. But the bottom line is you're reducing it by about 25 grams. And usually I will increase the protein a little bit to offset it, but not one for one.
Right.
So if we take him down 25 grams of carbohydrate, we might take him up 5 or 7 on the protein. So if he's eating 300 grams of protein, now we're 305 or something. It's just a little bit.
Tweaks.
So your calories are still real close. You're still a little bit lower because really this is a calorie deficit problem. But we basically take it away from the carbohydrates, and we'll do that as soon as weight loss stops again. As soon as we determine, or as soon as they plateau, and it might take usually it takes a couple weeks.
Sure.
Usually, and then
Well, are there meals where you absolutely want to try to keep carbs in all the time?
Keep them in all the time.
Yeah, maybe you can have a mid-morning snack that has carbs. Maybe you pull it from there rather than like a breakfast or a post-workout or something. Yeah,
so I like to take, and this is getting kind of advanced, I guess.
Sure.
I take usually, it's not critical, but about, say, 60% of the carbohydrates, or maybe even 70% of their daily intake, and you put that 60 to 70% in 2 meals, breakfast and post-training.
Nice.
Okay, so I would leave those high throughout the diet, and I would reduce it from some of these further away from the training window. I would reduce the carbs first,
right?
Because your body's better at sucking them up,
right?
I would assume, and it seems to be that way. I don't really have any evidence of that, but that just makes sense to me. So take it out of your mid-morning, 10 o'clock, 5 hours away from your training session, not out of your post-workout meal.
Right.
So those kind of things we look at, but at the end of the day, I don't even know how much that's really even that critical.
They say that, and this was the whole push, the theory behind MuscleTech's old tried and true supplement called CellTech was that you need a certain amount of sugars after your workout to replace glycogen stores, which is basically just muscle energy. It's sugar and everything like that. And they had a bunch of clinical research to back it up. But again, who knows? Everybody responds differently, but also when it comes to supplementation, when it comes to diet, there's so much theoretical research and there's so much research that is out there that contradicts itself. It's hard to kind of know what to listen to other than just yourself.
Well, you do have to figure out kind of on your own, but this method that I'm talking about it's not. I mean, I know it works.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying.
Yeah, sure.
But most people, we have this anti-carbohydrate mentality in society, just in general. Most people think they can't get lean. They always say, "Oh, I got to cut out." Even people who are just general fitness, I'm cutting out my carbs at night and I'm losing weight because of that.
Yeah.
And they think carbs are it's like your body is going to process that carbohydrate the same way at noon as it does at midnight. Right. It doesn't change what it does with that. I mean, so I have clients, even myself, if I'm getting ready for a show, I'm eating cream of wheat at 11:30 at night.
Right.
And I'm getting leaner every day.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
it doesn't compute for a lot of
people,
I'm sure.
Doritos in the middle of the night, and you can still get leaner if everything else is on point. I mean, you can have carbs at night, is what I'm saying. Carbs aren't the enemy. It's the kind that you eat and kind of how you structure it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's a witch hunt. I mean, do you remember? Excuse me, hiccups. The 80s and 90s was all about fat, fat-free this, fat-free that, and it was the war on fat. Now it's the war on carbs.
Well, and people thought, and they still think from those days that, well, if I eat fat, I'm going to get fat.
Yeah.
They have no idea that's
dietary
fat.
It
has nothing to do with it.
Right.
It has nothing to do with it. You can eat as much fat as you want.
Right.
You may or may not get fat. Right. It has to do with a lot of other things. But fat's usually actually probably a very beneficial nutrient.
Right.
Even some of the fats, I actually think natural sources, even if it's coming from beef or eggs and stuff, I think even a moderate amount of that's good for you.
Right.
I really do. I used to think it wasn't, but now I kind of changed my tune on that. No, some of the nasty unsaturated, stuff in the Crisco and the butter or the margarines, that stuff's probably not that great for you.
Sure.
I wouldn't be rushing to add that to your meals, but naturally occurring sources of fat,
animal and plant fat.
Not tons of them,
right?
But a moderate amount is probably good for your skin. It's probably good for actually boosting fat loss in the body. It does a lot to help build muscle, or at least I notice if I have more fat in my diet versus less when I'm trying to build muscle, you build it better for whatever reason.
Right. Help joint health.
No, fat doesn't obviously build muscle, but it's aiding something in the process of that to free some other resources up for building. Or again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not even that's the thing. I mean, this is all from my own
experience, and the proof is in the pudding, though. I mean,
well, it works because I know in bodybuilding you have to figure out. You don't really care why it works, just if it works.
Exactly.
And so.
Well, and there's another thing about those the good fats that you find on avocados and things like that. They help transport bad cholesterol out of your blood. I mean, help clean your blood. So I mean, there's definitely benefits in it. And the thing is that our body is meant to run on protein, fat, and carbohydrates. I think, long story short, it's the amount of everything that people are eating as a whole. So it's not fat that's going to get you fat. It's not carbs that are going to get you fat. It's eating a bunch of all of it.
It's eating a bunch of all of it, but really, if you do want to single out and demonize one aspect, you could probably say sugar.
Sugar, yeah.
I think we had an episode on this. I mean, but again, moderate amounts of sugar even are not going to totally wreck your health or your physique. It's just when you're consuming.
There's a lot of scare tactics out there.
We consume in this society in general.
Sure.
That is going to lead to a lot of health problems.
Yeah, it will. And there's
more so than fat or anything else. No. I mean, the number one thing of causing health problems is high sugar intake.
Right, and that doesn't necessarily also mean going to Burger King and getting a triple cheeseburger and throwing the buns away either. If
I'm going to Burger King, I'm eating the buns.
If
you're going to go to a fast food restaurant, eat what you want. Otherwise, just don't go. I never understood that.
Yeah.
Let's go out to eat, and I'll have the salad. Why go?
Yeah.
If you're going to go out to eat, have what you want, and then eat healthy the next 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a give and take relationship. I mean, we kind of went ham on that question.
I'll take some ham and eggs.
I wouldn't mind that either, good sir. But we're at about half an hour. You want to call, or do you got more questions?
No,
we have more
I
stuff.
think we've
bored everybody enough.
We're beating a dead horse now.
Yeah. Well, all right, everybody. That was the show today. Stay tuned for the next show, and probably another every other week. So in 2 weeks. Keep your questions coming. Keep your comments coming. You can find us. Oh, go
one
ahead.
thing I was going to say.